Dear students, would like to make you reflect about the changes happened in our country after independence. Post-independent time, India saw the uprising of the ugly face of casteism. The robust caste system of ancient India was totally and completely eroded, and a comprehensive, suppressive system of the exploitation was rampant under the name of casteism. A few self-acclaimed upper castes set norms, rules and practices that oppressed and suppressed other castes. As explained in other topics of this unit, with the advent of the Muslim invasion, the comfortable and secure lifestyle got threatened. As a reaction, groups clung together, bound by clans and families groups, and the profile of the earlier caste system based on profession changes into one based on bonded family group. Some of them did not even follow the caste's profession. This scenario got even stronger and the advent of the British rule, with their policy of non- or low industrialization of India, and the affluent Indian society slowly got eroded into a society manifest with poverty and unemployment. Now, some of the clans that clung together for identity and security during the Muslim invasion clung together in poverty and depression, while others who had grown in affluence and education got together with a sense of one-upmanship. The robust caste system of ancient India got replaced by ugly casteism. This was the scenario that the Indian society found itself in the wake of independence as regards the caste issue. The need of constitutional safeguards. During the independence movement and thereafter, setting right the ugly and unjust inequalities that had entrenched itself in a society among different sections of societies became one of the most important issues in contend with. Gandhiji and other political and social leaders sought to bring in social justice even before political freedom was in sight. And so, subsequently, when independent India gave unto itself a constitution, the subject of the protection and upliftment of the so-called lower castes and marginalized sections of society became an important aspect to deal with. The foundation fathers of our constitution wanted social, economic and political justice for all citizens. This was not really or easily possible as a matter of course. The inequitable forces that had entrenched into the socio-economic system and had got embedded into the lifestyles of the politely at large expressed itself in the deprivation and disadvantages in the weaker and poorer sections, which were readily exploited by the better-offs. Realizing this, the craftsmen of our Constitution, in all their wisdom and concern for securing a security poised for development and progress of all citizens, considered it necessary to provide specific safeguards in the Constitution to protect the interests and ensure the upliftment of socially and historically weaker deprived castes. This perhaps will put into perspectives the need for constitutional safeguards in the context of caste in India. The directive principles of the Constitution, as contained in Article 46, provided that the state shall provide with special care the educational and economic interests of the weaker sections of the people, and in particular of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, and shall protect them from social injustice and all form of exploitation. To facilitate the implementation of the above principles, the Constitution provides for a number of safeguards. In a democracy, we need a people-centered approach to development, and this is nowhere more true than of India. In a people-centered approach to development, the needs of the people are of utmost importance and holds the highest priority. The central themes of people-centered development are the empowerment of people and the development of administrative processes which respond to the needs of the people. Key elements in such an approach are human growth and well-being, equality, self-reliance, participation, and sustainability. The safeguards assured by the government to the backward castes take all this into consideration and is aimed at empowering and uplifting them in a steady and sustainable manner so as to enable them to join the mainstream. Such safeguards are facilitated by central legislation, state legislation, and by the regulations by the governor. In other words, safeguards accorded to the weaker sections are a joint responsibility of the central and state governments, with a special role being assigned to the governor of the state. Understanding the terms, first, we need to understand what is meant by the terms BC, MBC, OBC, and CC and ST. All these categories have been accorded safeguards by the Constitution. Backward class people is a collective term used by the Government of India for castes which are educationally and socially disadvantaged. This may be considered as an identifiable group of persons based on caste with definite characteristics of backwardness in various aspects like social education, cultural, economical, political, and such others. Depending on their collective condition, these castes are further subcategorized as BC, backward castes, MBC, most backward castes, and OBC, other backward castes. Scheduled castes and scheduled tribes are further categories. Schedule refers to a schedule to the Constitution of India. Article 366 of the Constitution describes this. Schedule means a schedule of the Constitution of India. Scheduled castes means such castes, races or tribes or parts of or groups within such castes, races or tribes as are deemed under Article 341 to be scheduled castes for the purposes of this Constitution. Scheduled tribes means such tribes or tribal communities or parts or groups within such tribes or tribal communities are deemed under Article 342 to be scheduled tribes for the purpose of this Constitution. Let's look at some of the important safeguards provided for the weaker sections by our Constitution. Social and economic safeguards. The most important of the measures in this category is the prohibition of untouchability as the evils of casteism grew. The worst of them saw a few of the upper caste threat those in some of more lower castes in a most inhuman and undignified manner. They were considered untouchable and were totally ostracized from the mainstream of society. The Constitution seeks to end this atrocious evil through Article 17, wherein untouchability is totally abolished and its practice in any form is prohibited and punishable by the law. There are two important legislations regarding this article: the Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955 and the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Act 1989. Article 15 prohibits discrimination based on race, sex, caste or place of birth and prohibits the prevention of entry of any person in any public place such as hotels, restaurants, place of public entertainment, etc. It further prohibits the restriction of anybody using public wells or tanks or roads of any public utility based on caste or race. Discrimination based on the caste becomes an offence punishable by law. Article 23 deals with the prohibition of human trafficking, begging and other forms of forced labour. Indulging in any of these will be an offence punishable by the law. This does not directly refer to the backward castes per se, is applicable to all of the population. However, it gets special significance in the context of safeguards to the backward castes. More specifically, the SC and the ST, as the majority of the bonded labour post independents belonged to these backward groups. Article 24 ensures that no child under the age of 14 is employed in any factory or mine or is engaged in any hazardous labor. There are both central laws with regard to this aspect as well as state laws in many states. This article also, like that of Article 23, although is general to all in the country and not specific to the backward castes, it's significant the context of constitutional safeguards as much of child labor is drawn from the backward castes or classes. Article 25, 2b provides the right to enter temples to all, irrespective of their caste. It will be mentioned here that prior to independence, some of the lower castes did not have right to enter into temples. In addition, there are other safeguards specific to scheduled tribes in general and to specific states. Among them are Article 275, which deals special grants to states from the Consolidated Fund or Funds of India as grant in aid to enable the state or states to deal with the implementation of the developmental schemes for the purpose of promoting the welfare of the STs. In addition, the Constitution provides for the administration and control of the scheduled areas by which allotment and transfer of land therein is regulated. The problem of debt is serious throughout the country, but especially so in the case of economically deprived lower castes, particularly the SCs and STs, a symptom of a larger economic malaise. This speaks out not only of an imbalance between income and minimum consumption requirements, but also of lack of resources for carrying a gainful activity. The fifth schedule of the Constitution invests powers to the states to prevent exploitation by money lenders. Hence, many states have enacted laws as regards the business of money lending. Also, there are autonomous regional and district councils set up to not only administer the various department programs and the concerned departments, but also the powers to make local laws on a variety of subjects that such as land, forest, shifting, cultivation, village or town administration, including public health, sanitation, inheritance, property, marriage, divorce, and social customs. Development projects are pivotal to national progress. However, such projects sometimes displace the residents of the area in which these projects are placed. Often, the tribals, the SCs and STs get displaced. One study puts this figure at around 70% in the 110 projects studied. This is a serious problem and safeguards against such events are in order. States like Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra have made laws regarding the rehabilitation of such displaced groups. Educational and cultural safeguards. The Constitution Act 1951, in Article 15, empowers the state to make special provisions of the advancement of any social or educationally backward caste. Considering the inequities in the educational levels of different castes and sets and the levels of illiteracy prevalent in this has enabled states to reverse seats in educational institutions for the backward castes and the SCs and STs. However, as mentioned in the introductory paragraphs, merely having those rights on paper will not ensure desirable states of education at all. Thus, reservation has introduced as a safeguard to the educationally underprivileged historically. Article 46 deals with the promotion of educational and economic interests of the weaker sections. It states that the state shall promote with special care the educational and economical welfare of the weaker sections of the polity and shall take measures to protect them from any and all forms of exploitation. Article 29 safeguards the right to preserve the language and the script of any section of the population of India. This is of pivotal importance as India is a multilingual country and each citizen must have a right to preserve, use and advance his mother tongue. Tribals not expected. Article 350A deals with instruction in the mother tongue in primary education. Tribes have their own mother tongue belonging to a different genre of language other than that of the state language, and in such cases, it provides for such children to be taught in their mother tongue. Service of safeguards. Article 16 accords equality of opportunities of employment. It states that there shall be equality of opportunity for all citizens in matters relating to employment or appointment in any office under the state, and no citizen shall, on grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, descendant, place of birth, residence, or any of them, be ineligible or discriminated against in respect of any employment or office under the state. Further, Article 16 empowered that state to make provision of reservation for appointments for the backward classes, who they found were not adequately represented in the state service. Although this provision was not bound to begin with, the article further states that nothing shall prevent the state of reserving posts in the services in favor of the SCs and STs, which they feel are not adequately represented in their services. National Commission of Scheduled Castes and Tribes. National Commission for Scheduled Castes is an Indian established with a view to provide safeguards against the exploitation of scheduled castes and to promote and protect their social, educational, economical and cultural interests. The first commission for SC and ST was set up in August 1978. In 1987, the Commission for SCs and STs were renamed as the National Commission of Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes, and it was set up as a national level advisory body to advise the government on broad policy issues and levels of development of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. This was to provide safeguards against the exploitation of scheduled castes and to their promote and to protect their social, educational, economic and cultural interests. Special provisions were made in the Constitution. From 1097 to 2002, 4 such commissions have been set up. Later, in consequent upon the Constitution, Act 2003, the erstwhile National Commission for Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes has been replaced by National Commission for Scheduled Castes and National Commission for Scheduled Tribes. Thereafter, the first National Commission for Scheduled Castes was constituted in 2004. The second National Commission for Scheduled Castes in series was constituted on May 2007. The third National Commission of Scheduled Castes has been constituted in October 2010. The functions of National Commission on Scheduled Castes include investigating, monitoring and evaluating matters relating to the safeguards provided by the Constitution or any other law in force, inquiring into specific complaints as regards deprivation of rights and safeguards provided, participating and advising on the planning process of socio-economic development, evaluating the process of their development, to present to the President annually and at such other times as the commissions may deem fit reports upon the working of these safeguards, making reports and recommendations of the effective implementation of the safeguards provided and of the welfare and socio-economic development of the scheduled castes, taking on such other functions in relation to the protection, welfare and development and advancement of the scheduled castes as the President may, subject to the provisions of any law made by Parliament, by rule specifically. True, substantially development has been made in all sections of society, all castes. However, more steps are still required. The current trends in Indian society still warrant the constitution of these safeguards so that all sections are free to grow and develop in all respects. Post-independent, India saw the uprising of the ugly face of casteism. A few self-acclaimed upper class oppressed and suppressed other castes. During the independence movement and thereafter, dealing with the caste inequalities among different sections of society became one of the most important issues to contend with. When independent India gave unto itself a constitution, the subject of the protection and upliftment of the so-called lower castes became an important aspect to deal with. The directive principles of the Constitution as contained in Article 46 provided that the state shall provide with special care the educational and economic interests of the weaker sections of the people and in particular of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, and shall protect them from social injustice and all forms of exploitation. To facilitate the implementation of the above principles, the Constitution provides for a number of safeguards. Safeguards accorded to the weaker sections are a joint responsibility of the central and state governments, with a special role being assigned to the governor of the state. Backward class people is a collective term used by the Government of India for castes which are educationally and socially disadvantaged. Depending on their collective condition, these castes are further subcategorized as BCs, MBCs, and OBCs. Scheduled castes and scheduled tribes are further categories. Social and economic safeguards. Article 17 deals with the probation of untouchability. The Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955 and the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Act 1989 and two other attachments in this context. Article 15 prohibits the prevention of entry of any person in any public place. Article 23 deals with the prohibition of forced labor. Article 24 safeguards against child labor. Article 25 2b provides the right to enter temples to all. Article 275 (1) deals with special grants to states to deal with the implementation of the development schemes for the STs. The Constitution provides for the administration and control of the scheduled areas by which allotment and transfer of land therein is regulated. The fifth schedule of the Constitution invests powers to the states to prevent exploitation by moneylenders. Autonomous regional and district councils are set up to implement the development programs. Some states have made laws regarding the rehabilitation of displaced STs. Educational and cultural safeguards. The Constitution Act 1951 in Article 15(4) empowers the state to make special provision for the advancement of any socially or educationally backward caste. Article 46 deals with the promotion of the educational and economical interests of the weaker sections. Article 29(1) safeguards the right to preserve the language and script of any section of the population of India, tribals included. Article 350A deals with instruction in the mother tongue in primary education. Article 16 accords equality of opportunities of employment. Article 16(4) empowered the state to make provision for reservation for appointments for the backward classes. National Commission of Scheduled Castes and Tribes. National Commission of Scheduled Castes in an Indian constitutional body, established with a view to provide safeguards against the exploitation of scheduled castes and to promote and protect their social, educational, economic and cultural interests. The function of the National Commission on Scheduled Castes is to safeguard their interests in all respects. Substantial development has been made in all sections of society. All castes, however, most steps are still required.